Hello and welcome to another episode of Retouching Secrets to the Pros with Dennis Dunbar. Today we're going to talk about color grading. We've all seen the way color is used in movies and high-end advertisement and fashion images now. It's become a really powerful way of creating a sense of mood and raising the impact of your image and giving focus to certain areas that you want to have your viewers take a look at. In this particular case, we're going to use a trick my friend Lisa Carney showed me that allows you to get really close, mimicking the colors of a reference image without a lot of trouble. It's going to use the curves adjustment layer to create this look. So the first thing we want to do is we want to bring in a reference image that we want to match. In this particular case, I have this reference shot from Jacques Olivar, a fashion photographer who lives somewhere in Europe. I think he lives in Spain. I love his work. It's really impactful. Not only does he shoot beautiful women, beautiful models in beautiful locations, but the color grading that he uses is really impactful, and I fall in love with it. So when I found this shot, I thought, how would I get that same kind of color grade to work with a shot like this headshot from my friend Mark? To do so, we're going to use the curves adjustment tool. We're going to use the auto options to automatically set the black, midtone, and white highlight points for our image here. When I did a quick test of this is the result I got. I got a curve like this. I'm going to show you how we got this really quickly because it doesn't take a lot of time. First thing we have to do, though, is we have to think about setup. Because our reference image is going to sit above the adjustment layers and everything we're going to do, because we don't want to affect this reference image, we need to make sure that when we sample colors from the reference image, we're able to do so without running into big problems. So to do so, we're going to come over here to the eyedropper tool, and we're going to make sure here for sample is set for all layers. I like to keep this normally on current and below, but we're going to set this for all layers now because, again, our reference image sits above the adjustment layer, so we don't want to be just sampling the colors below there and running around in circles. I'm going to make a new curve adjustment layer, and we're going to not worry about the color, about the name for this now. I'm going to make sure I click on the adjustment layer itself rather than the mask. I don't want to sample colors in the mask. I want to sample colors in the image. So I click on the adjustment layer, make sure that's clicked on for that. I'm going to come over here and click on these three little bars here and bring up Auto Options. Auto Options is a powerful tool. You can use this to automatically set the shadow, highlight, and midtone colors for your image. In this case, we're going to sample them from the reference image. So we're going to click on Enhance Per Channel Contrast, and that brings up shadows, midtones, and highlights. If I click on the shadows, it brings up the color picker here, but I can also pick shadows from our image. So I'm going to click over here and find something that's in a deep color here. I'm looking at the brightness value for this. I want it to be pretty close to black, but it doesn't have to be exactly black. So this will be pretty close. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on the highlights. Now for the highlights, I want to sample something from her skin highlight. Here, I want to sample something like this. And look, I found one, the highlight here. It has some color in it, but it's already set to 100 brightness. So we're going to keep our highlights nice and pure. I'm going to click OK. Already, we've gotten really, really close. The last step would be to click on the midtones. And the trick with midtones is I want to find something where the brightness value is right around 50%. So I'm going to sample somewhere around here. I'm going to watch how I get the values that show up in here as I sample around. Here I've gotten something that's 52. I'm going to just highlight this and type in 50. I'm going to click OK. Now we see we got really close. The last step here is to click OK. We do not want to save this in new defaults. We're going to click No for that. And without a lot of trouble, we've got this where the skin tones are looking really pretty close. If we take a look at the curves here, it's kind of a crazy looking curve. We've moved the white point and the black point for the red. The green has been moved a little bit as well. And the blue has been moved a lot for this. So if we come back here to our RGB, we see it's really created an interesting kind of curve. We can always come in here and adjust this. If I want more reds in his face, I could come here, bring up the target adjustment tool, and bring in a little bit more red for this. But I don't have to do that because this really got me pretty close for this. Let's take a look at another example for this. This one is a color grade that I really liked for this. The photographers was Kramer Johnson, a team based here in LA whose work I really love. And the color grading was done by a friend, Jeff Whitlock, who's based in Ohio. And Jeff does some really amazing color grades for this as well. I like the sort of warm monochromatic look of her face here. And I wanted to kind of mimic that kind of a thing because I like the look for how this works here. So this is the color grade that I came up with for this. And we're going to, again, step through our process one more time. I'm going to make a curve adjustment layer. I'm going to make sure I click on the curves layer itself, not on the layer mask. I'm going to come over here to Auto Options. I'm going to click Enhance Per Channel Contrast. Click on the shadows. I'm going to pick something like maybe from her hair here. Now we see this is set for 12. It might be a little too light. We might want to make this a little bit darker. So really all we have to do, since we're on the brightness setting, we can just pull this down and make our shadows be a little beefier for this. Doesn't have to be all the way to black. We can adjust that later if we want, but I want to get that warm kind of color into the shadows. We click OK for that. Now we're going to click on Highlight. I'm going to sample some of the whites from here. This is set for 99. That'll be really pretty close for the color value for that. So I'll click OK. Now I'm going to click on the midtones. I'm going to look for somewhere on her skin that is close to 50%. But come around here, we get pretty close. I'm just going to type in 50 here to make sure I'm not going to make the midtones lighter or darker. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to say OK. Say no, do not save as target defaults. And by turning this on and off, you can see we've actually gotten really pretty close to that same kind of feel with the skin tone. We could get in here and we could dial in and make some changes if we wanted to, but we don't really need to do that because we got really pretty close for this. Let's take a look at one more example here. This one is also from the same team, Kramer Johnson and Jeff Whitlock. This one here, I really love this. And in this case, the background is going to be a very different color than what we have here. So we may want to make an additional adjustment on the background. I'm also seeing there's a lot of color in the highlights, and that picks up on another trick that I've talked about before, where Jeff brings in some opposing color into the highlights for that. But for here, we're just going to focus mainly on how we get close to the skin tone and the overall color that we got here. You can see here that I did 3 example layers to get this really pretty close here. For that, we're going to take a look at how we did that in a really quick process here. First step, again, is make a new curve adjustment layer. I'm going to make sure I click on the curves layer, not the layer mask. I'm going to come over here and click on Auto Options. I'm going to click on Enhance Per Channel Contrast. I will go to Shadows. I'm going to sample a shadow color from his hair. That's got a brightness value of 10, which is pretty close. I'm going to live with that. I'm going to come over here to Highlights. I'm going to sample a white from his shirt. That has a value of 92, so I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Since I'm on the brightness thing, the HSB, if I bring it up here, it just brightens the value, leaving the hue and the saturation alone. So we're going to make this a little bit brighter. Doesn't have to be 100% white for that. And then for the midtones, again, we're going to click on here, and we're going to look for something. There we go. We've got a midtone already pretty close to here. So I'm going to hit OK. And we're going to hit OK. No. And we've got overall pretty close, but I think maybe his skin tone, I like what it's doing in here. And around here, I like what it's doing in the hair, but his skin tone is maybe being affected a little bit too much. Well, that's really easy to do. All I have to do is click on the curves adjustment layer, go to my brush tool. I have flow down set for about 50%. I'm going to make my brush really pretty big. I'm going to make sure I have black as my foreground color, and I just paint it out of the face area here. And there we go. that's gotten really pretty close to this kind of a look without a great deal of trouble. I could work on getting another adjustment layer where we get closer for a skin tone, but that's a whole other tutorial here. Now, how do we adjust the background to get this? Well, since he's against this different colored background here, if I click down here on the background layer, I can click Select Subject. I can use Photoshop's automatic select subject to select him. I'm going to invert this selection, come up here and choose inverse, because I want to choose the background, not him. Come back here, I'm clicked on here. I'm going to add a new adjustment layer. This time I'm going to name it background. And now I can come over here and I can pull some red out and make our background pretty close to what they had here. So I got this pretty close impact for that. The last step is how to get the color into the highlights here, the opposing color into the highlights. Well, as we said before, that's a really pretty easy trick for this. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure we clicked on top of here. We're going to come over here and make a new fill layer. We're going to set this for color blending because we just want it to affect the color. I'm going to click on here, and now we're going to sample. We're going to sample this color from the background. I say, okay, we've got this nice color here, but it's way too strong. It's affecting everything. I'm going to double click on the edge here to bring up the layer style palette. I can also come over here and do layer style, blending options. I'm going to use the blend if layers here. Since this is a solid color layer, playing around with here won't do us much good. We're going to change the way it affects with the underlying layer. We don't want it to affect the shadows. So if I bring the black point over, we see we're retreating out of the highlight, out of the shadows and into the highlights here. And we get this looking really pretty close. It's kind of a harsh transition for that. So I'm going to hold down the Option key, split these triangles to feather it, and bring this over, and we've got a nice smooth transition here. Finally, bring down the transparency of this, the opacity of it down a little bit. And here we go. We've added that contrasting highlight into there, and we've got something that's really pretty close to this color grade in just 3 simple steps. So this is the way we use Lisa's trick to get into the neighborhood and then to dial in and perfect what we've done as we go along. I hope this was helpful for you, and let me know in the notes if you like this and what you'd like to see next. Thanks a lot.